We are live inside our San Diego studios. Welcome into the Padres postgame show. Final score in New York today, the Mets 2 and the Padres 1. As the Padres drop this series opener to the Mets, Padres dropped to 37 and 36 on the year. Mets improved to 31 and 37. And after more than an hour rain delay, we didn't have a very exciting game. There was not a ton of action in this one as the Mets end up holding on for a 2-1 win. Lot to do on our post-game coverage. We'll have all the radio highlights for you. We'll go back to Citi Field in New York, hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt, and much, much more to come on this Friday evening. But first, some initial thoughts for you. Look, sometimes in baseball, it's about a couple of swings, like Jesse and Tony alluded to in the wrap-up, and all the runs in this one came on two swings. There was the two-out, two-run double by J.D. Martinez in the third. That made it 2-0. Padres got their lone run on the home run from Jackson Merrill, his third in the last two games. That made it 2-1, and that was it. That was all the scoring in this one, and really the Padres didn't have a ton of great scoring opportunities as Sean Manaea gave up just the one run on the home run to Merrill in 5+ innings. But let's start with, before we really dive in, let's start with the good from this game. And that was certainly Matt Waldron, who was really, really good once again. He continues to be terrific. We'll get more into his overall numbers in the last 7 starts as we go along here on the postgame. But here tonight, he was great once again. 7 strong innings. He gave up just 3 hits. 2 earned runs given up. Again, they both came on a 2-out double to Martinez. 2 walks, 2 strikeouts. He was in command. And anytime Matt Waldron, or anybody really, goes 7 innings and allows 2 runs, you'll take that every single outing. So he was certainly not the problem in this game. Matt Waldron was once again very, very good. He continues to be such a great story for this team and took a very tough luck loss. The problem in this one was that the Padres left the bats in California, at least for tonight. They just did not have anything going. 1 run on 5 hits. Manny Machado was 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts, struck out in a big spot in the 9th inning. Donovan Solano 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. So the number 4 and 5 spots in the Padres lineup in this one, they went 0 for 8 with 6 strikeouts. Fernando Tatis Jr. 0 for 4 with a strikeout. And until that 9th inning, the Padres only had 2 at-bats with runners in scoring position. Remember, they had then Azócar on second base with nobody out in the 9th inning and ended up going down 1-2-3, could not get Azócar home. So from innings 1 through 8 in this game, the Padres only had 2 at-bats with runners in scoring position. They just did not have anything going against Sean Manaea, who went 5 innings, 1 run given up, and then a really good job in this one by the Mets bullpen. Ottavino, Diekman, Reed-Foley, and Diaz combining for 4 scoreless innings out of the pen. So credit where credit's due. They did a really, really good job, and we just did not see that offensive momentum, everything we saw in the homestand, and certainly we saw some power with Merrill, which was great. But as far as stringing hits together and being able to do much, we just did not see it from the Padres in this series opener in New York. And unfortunately, it was another example of the Padres struggling against the left-handed starter and left-handed pitching in general. The numbers entering this game: Padres 231 team batting average against lefties, 276 against righties. Against left-handed starters, 233 and 276 against righties. So that continues to be an issue. Another left-handed starter in Sean Manaea, who did a good job. 1 run in 5 innings. You look at Hogan Harris on Wednesday, 5 innings, 2 runs. You look at J.P. Sears the day before, 5 innings, 3 runs. And look, the 2 left-handers in Harris and Sears with the A's, it's not like the Padres did nothing against them, but they did not hit them hard, right? And the Padres certainly didn't hit Sean Manaea hard in this game. So that's a little perspective on this game. Another lefty starter where the Padres didn't do any kind of big-time damage against the lefty, so that continues to be a concern. But here tonight, I mean, this was pretty easy to break down, right? The Padres got great pitching from Waldron. They only had to use 1 reliever in Morahone, but when you score 1 run on 5 hits and you only have a couple of at-bats with runners in scoring position, innings 1 through 8, it's going to be hard to win a game. And one of those games where the Mets Mets had one early swing, 2-out, 2-run double from J.D. Martinez after he hit a walk-off home run last night, and that stood up. It ended up being enough. The Padres could not get much going offensively in this game. We'll step aside. We'll recap this game in its entirety. We'll hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. Much more to come as we wrap this one up on a Friday in Southern California. Final score, Mets 2, Padres 1. More postgame after this. Our postgame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Final score, Mets 2 and the Padres 1 as the Padres drop this series opener at Citi Field in Flushing, Queens. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios. As we wrap this one up, Padres will try to bounce back tomorrow. We'll have much more on that game and the rest of this series. Coming up a little bit later, we'll also have the full highlights from this game, but I'll sort of spoil it for you. Not many highlights in this one because all the runs came on two swings. J.D. Martinez, a 2-out, 2-run double to give the Mets a 2-0 lead in the third. Padres would get one back on Jackson Merrill's home run, a solo shot in the fifth inning. He continues to swing the bat very well for Merrill. That was home run number 6 on the season, his third in the last two games after a 2-home run game on Wednesday. The big story for the Padres in this one, the big positive, no doubt, Matt Waldron, who continues to be absolutely terrific. And we'll dive a little bit deeper into Waldron's outing a little bit later in our post-game coverage. We'll sort of recap what he's done the last 7 starts and how he utilized the knuckleball in this game. That's something we always pay attention to when Matt Waldron is on the mound. So we'll talk about that a little bit more later. And again, we'll have the full highlights for you. Out-of-town scoreboard. We'll work in some of your phone calls, your tweets, your DMs, and your video comments as well as we go along on our post-game coverage. But first, let's go back to Citi Field in New York, and let's hear from the Padres manager after this one.
Let's pull up a seat in the manager's office and hear from Padres manager Mike Shildt. Presented by Sinley Food. Spice up your culinary life.
Mike, you guys have seen Mania enough. What was tough about him tonight?
Yeah, Sean was really good. He was, locating his pitches, keeping guys off balance, thought he threw the ball very well.
Matt, obviously.
Yeah, he was great. Waldy gave us more than a chance. He got his 100th career punch out tonight and 7 innings, and left there giving up 2 runs. So did a tremendous job. The ball that Martinez got down the line was the only damage, but Matty was really good again.
Just one of those nights. There really just weren't that many chances.
There weren't on both sides. A well-played baseball game. Their bullpen came and did a really nice job. Morihone was really, really good in our 8th. Difference was, we were over 5 runners scoring position. They were 1 for 5, and that was the difference. But took good at bats, hit some balls at people, and but at the end of the day, it just wasn't enough.
Goes into that tag by Cronenworth?
Just baseball player, yeah. We work on it, but no, just a great baseball play by Crony.
A quick post-game press conference with Mike Shildt. I think Kevin Acee is maybe the only one there asking the question. So quick post-game press conference from Mike Shildt. But, hey, there's not a ton to talk about from this game. Let's be honest about it. Matt Waldron was great. There were 2 swings that led to runs. The Padres couldn't get really much going offensively aside from the Merrill home run. They had a big opportunity to tie the game with a runner on second base and nobody out in the 9th inning. And we'll get into all of it in just a moment, but look, there's not a ton to really break down if we're being honest from this ball game, and it was pretty simple. 2 swings, Mets got 2 runs on theirs, Padres got 1 run on theirs. Pretty much breaks it down, right? So that was Mike Shildt after tonight's 2-1 defeat in New York. Let's recap this game with our game highlights.
What moments had the biggest impact on today's game? We'll paint you a picture with our game recap on the Padres Radio Network.
After more than an hour rain delay, we finally got underway in New York City. Sean Manaea pitched 3 scoreless innings to start his night. Matt Waldron had 2 scoreless innings to begin his night, but the Mets rallied in the bottom of the 3rd. Waldron issued a 1-out walk to Jeff McNeil. Brandon Nimmo hit a 2-out single. There were runners on first and second with 2 men away for J.D. Martinez.
1-1, hit hard on a line down the right field side. That is a fair ball. Going to go to the corner and give the Mets the lead. McNeil rounding third has scored. They're waving Nimmo. There will not be a relay from Cronenworth. A 2-run double for J.D. Martinez. And the Mets strike first here in the 3rd inning.
That's a superb piece of hitting by Just Dingers.
Yeah, it was really a good piece of hitting from J.D. Martinez, lining it down the right field line. It gave New York a 2-0 lead. The score stayed 2-0 until the top of the 5th inning. That's when Jackson Merrill dug in.
1-1 pitch hit in the air to right center field, really well struck. Taylor's back into the gap. Marte's back into the gap. It is up on top of the wall and gone. A home run. Jackson Merrill with another. His 3rd home run in the last 2 games, and the Padres are on the board.
Timing is everything in this game.
And it was Merrill's 6th home run of the season. It stayed a 2-1 game. Sean Manaea worked into the 6th inning, would allow just that Merrill home run. Matt Waldron pitched the scoreless 5th inning and 6th inning. Padres had a scoring chance against the Mets bullpen in the top of the 7th. There were 2 on and 2 out, but Jake Diekman got Jackson Merrill to fly out. That ended the threat. Waldron pitched the scoreless bottom of the 7th inning. He was great tonight. 7 innings, 2 runs allowed, 3 hits given up. Adrian Morihone pitched the scoreless bottom of the 8th inning. That brought us to the 9th inning. Padres still down just 2-1. Edwin Diaz, the Mets closer, entered. Jurickson Profar hit a leadoff single. Jose Azocar pinch ran. Azocar stole second with nobody out, but then Diaz bounced back to strike out Manny Machado. He got a ground out to second base from Donovan Solano. That moved Azocar to 3rd, so the tying run was 90 feet away. 2 outs in the top of the 9th inning. The game left up to Jake Cronenworth.
Runner on 3rd, 2 outs. Pitch from Diaz, swung on and missed, strike 3. Got him with a slider down and in, and the ball game is over. Padres made a little noise in the 9th inning, but they leave the tying run 90 feet away, and the Mets take game 1 of this series by a final of 2-1.
And that was that here tonight. J.D. Martinez, the 2-out, 2-run double in the third inning, and the Mets pitching staff made it stand up as the Mets win it by a final of 2-1. Again, Sean Manaea, 5 innings, 1 run, got the win. Ottavino, Diekman, Reed Foley, Diaz combining for 4 scoreless innings out of the Mets pen. And meanwhile, Matt Waldron, really tough luck loss for him. 7 innings, 2 runs given up. He picks up his 6th loss of the season, and the Mets win this series opener as the Padres see their 3-game winning streak come to an end. Padres drop to 37-36. Mets improve to 31-37, and we'll see if the Padres can bounce back tomorrow with young right-hander Adam Mazur on the mound. When we come back, we'll talk more about this ball game. We'll dive deeper into what Matt Waldron did in this one. Full look at the out-of-town scoreboard, and we'll get you involved as well. Phone number 833-288-0973. Again, the phone number 833-288-0973. If you want to get involved, you can also shoot me a Twitter. What was I going to say? Tweet. Just a tweet. Shoot me a tweet. A tweet at Sammy Lev, SAMMYLEV. You can send me an Instagram message. I was mixing up my Instagram and Twitter. Instagram message at Sammy Lev, SAMMYLEV there. If you want to comment on our various video streams, if you're watching our post-game coverage, you can do that on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter. You know, it's funny. I feel like everybody's calling Twitter X now. I feel like I almost have to start calling Twitter X too. I'm not. I like the name Twitter. I'm not going to call it X. And to me, it's Twitter, right? Nick agrees with me. It's Twitter. It's Twitter. All right. Mets win it 2-1 over the Padres. More post game after this. Our post-game show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Final score here tonight, Mets 2 and the Padres 1. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios. As we wrap this one up, still a lot to do. We'll cycle through a number of our daily awards, have a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard, tell you about our player of the game, and more. As the Mets win this series opener from the Padres, Padres drop to a game above 500 at 37-36. Mets improve to 31-37. And in what is a wide open National League right now, the Mets just a few games back of the final wild card spot, despite being 6 games below 500. Padres entered today in command of the second wild card spot in the NL. So a lot of teams hovering around 500 or below 500, and this NL is wide open, and we've got a long way to go here on June 14th. But a tough one for the Padres here tonight. Matt Waldron, terrific in this game. Not on him. 7 innings, 2 runs given up. He gave up 1 RBI hit, the 2-out, 2-run double to J.D. Martinez in the third, and the Mets pitching staff made it stand up. Padres would get a run on Jackson Merrill's home run in the 5th inning, his third in the last 2 games. But aside from that, Padres offense did not have much going in this one, whether it was against Sean Manaea, their former teammate, or against anybody out of the Mets bullpen, whether it was Adam Ottavino, Jake Diekman, Sean Reed-Foley, or Edwin Diaz on the mound in the 9th inning to close it out. There was a bright spot out of the bullpen for the Padres in this game. Let's tell you about it with our relief pitcher of the game.
Which pitcher was able to come in and slam the door shut? It's time for the relief pitcher of the game in support of the Jacobs and Cushman San Diego Food Bank, providing food assistance to local children, families, and seniors in need. To get help or give help, visit SanDiegoFoodBank.org.
For our relief pitcher of the game in this one, we'll stay on the Padres side of things because we can, and we'll give it to Adrian Morejon. Got out of that 8th inning scoreless, kept it a 1-run game. I mean, kept the Padres right in it, allowed them to have the opportunity in the 9th inning where they had a runner on second base representing the tying run, nobody out. So we'll keep it on Morejon and the Padres because despite allowing a 2-out single, a 2-out walk, Morejon did get out of that inning scoreless. He ends the night with his ERA at 1.93 in 20 appearances. And what's interesting about Morejon is that he continues to get bigger and bigger responsibilities, right? That's a big spot in the 8th inning. Top of the order coming up for the Mets. It's a 1-run game. You're trying to keep it that way. We have seen Adrian over the course of the last couple of weeks get real traditional setup role type spots. Now, if the Padres have a lead in the 8th inning there, it's probably Jeremiah Estrada trying to bridge the gap to Robert Suarez. But Morejon continues to be really solid. I mean, look, the guy's got a 1.93 ERA in 20 appearances, 32 Ks in 28 innings, and did a good job despite allowing a 2-out single and a 2-out walk. So why not keep it on the Padres for relief pitcher of the game tonight? Give it to Adrian Morejon. I guess that was one silver lining from this game with the Padres not having an off day for a while. They had one yesterday, but they won't have another one for a while. The good news is that you only had to use one reliever in this game. I mean, I guess that's the silver lining from this one. Padres had to use one reliever because Waldron went 7 innings, and the Mets had to use 4. They had to use Ottavino, Diekman, Reed-Foley, and Diaz. So put that in the silver lining department of this 2-1 loss at the hands of the Mets. When we come back, we'll take a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard. We'll dive deeper into what Matt Waldron did in this game and much more to come. If you want to get a phone call in, you can do that. Phone number is always 833-288-0973. Again, the phone number 833-288-0973. If you want to get involved, we'll start taking your phone calls when we come back. Again, the final score, Mets 2, Padres 1. More post-game coverage after this. Our post-game show continues here on the Padres Radio Network. Final score, the Mets 2 and the Padres 1 as the Padres fall in this series opener to the New York Mets. Padres went 0 for 5 with runners in scoring position in this game, including 0 for 3 in that situation in the ninth inning. Really tough look in that ninth inning as the Padres had Jose Azocar, pinch runner for Jurickson Profar, who led off that inning with a single on second base with nobody out. Manny Machado struck out looking, took a 100-mile-per-hour fastball on the outer part of the plate against Edwin Diaz, struck out looking, then a ground out from Solano. It did get Azocar the tying run to third base, but then Jake Cronenworth struck out to end the game against Edwin Diaz. It was tough for the 4 and 5 spots in particular in this lineup. Machado tonight 0 for 4 with 3 Ks, and Donovan Solano 0 for 4 with 3 Ks as well. So 4 and 5 in the Padres lineup tonight, a combined 0 for 8. With 6 strikeouts. Fernando Tatis Jr. had a tough night, 0 for 4, a strikeout. Bright spots offensively, we really haven't talked a lot about that. And, hey, they scored 1 run on 5 hits here tonight, so collectively there wasn't a lot good to talk about. But Arise did have a couple of hits. Certainly that was good to see. Jurickson Profar did have a couple of hits, which is good to see considering he sat out Wednesday after continuing to deal with that patellar tendonitis. But how about this? Arise had 2 hits, Profar had 2 hits, Merrill had the home run. That was it as far as the hits in this game for the Padres. They had 5 hits, 2 from Arise, 2 from Profar, and the 1 from Merrill, the home run. Aside from that, nobody else had a base hit in this game. So not a great recipe to win this ball game as the Padres fall 2-1. Meanwhile, the Mets, look, they didn't do a ton offensively either. They had 4 hits, but one of the swings, one of the hits was the J.D. Martinez 2-run double, and that ended up being enough in this ball game in this series opener. Let's tell you about what Matt Waldron did as we go through our player of the game.
Which player had the biggest impact on today's game? Let's find out who is today's player of the game. Presented by Valley View Casino and Hotel. Catch every game at Patties and Pints. Plus, enjoy $4 beer every Thursday. Visit valleyviewcasino.com today.
From Waldron, swung on, bounced up the middle. Cronenworth backhand behind the bag at second. Off balance throw to first is in time, and the side is retired. Nice little defensive display this inning from Jake Cronenworth, and the Mets go quietly in the 6th.
Matt Waldron, no doubt about it here tonight, despite the loss, our player of the game. He was great in this game. 7 innings, 2 runs given up, just 3 hits allowed. Not a big strikeout day for Matt. He certainly had much bigger. 2 strikeouts, 2 walks, threw 98 pitches. That matched a season high. 7 innings, matched the season high, so he was great here tonight. Nothing more that Matt Waldron could do. Really, really good start. Another for Waldron, and unfortunately, he took the loss in this game. You look at how Matt did it here tonight. The knuckleball 43% of the time, the sweeper at 23%, the four-seamer at 17%, the sinker at 16%. So, look, it's been fascinating to see how Matt has used that knuckleball, right? We've seen him use it as much as 55% this season. We've seen him use it in the 30s many games this season. Tonight, he was sort of in the middle at 43%, but he was landing it early, generating whiffs on it early. And when he has that, I actually take back the whiff part of it. He only had 1 swing and miss on the knuckleball in this game. So a little bit different in that sense. Didn't actually generate a ton of swing and miss on it, but was very effective here tonight against a team that had never seen him before in the Mets. So Matt Waldron, really, really good here tonight, and he continues, in my opinion, to be not only one of the real great stories for the Padres this year, and really a great developmental story, I think, for this organization. But he continues, to me, just be a joy to watch. I mean, he's just been really, really good. And he's been, for a guy that was battling for a rotation spot out of spring training, and I think there was a moment after that start in Arizona where he got roughed up, really before this most recent run of 7 starts. I think there really was a moment where you sort of wondered how long he was for the rotation. I think that was a real question that was starting to creep in a lot of people's minds. But give Matt a lot of credit. he has really, really figured something out here. And the way he's utilizing the knuckleball, the way he continues to land it, the way he doesn't rely on it too much and is able to land all of his other pitches, he has been really, really good. You look at his numbers, the last 7 starts, how important this guy has been to this Padres rotation, especially with the absence of Yu Darvish and Joe Musgrove. Here are the numbers for Matt Waldron in his last 7 starts. A 1.91 ERA, 0.87 whip, 42 innings and a third, 41 strikeouts, 10 walks, and a 181 opponent batting average. I mean, he has just been great in the last 7 starts, and you hope it's a sign of things to come for Matt Waldron. But I talked about it earlier. I think watching this guy grow and learn about himself and learn how to utilize this knuckleball, I think it's been one of the real great stories for this team in 2024. And it's been really, really important for this rotation. I mean, look, again, I kind of said it tongue-in-cheek a little bit earlier, but it is true. One of the silver linings from this game is that Waldron gave you 7 strong innings and you had to use just 1 reliever out of the bullpen, which at the very least sets up your bullpen nicely for the next couple of days. Does that mean the Padres are going to win the next couple of days? Doesn't mean that, but it does mean you do have a fresh bullpen, and the Mets had to use 4 relievers in this game: Ottavino, Diekman, Reed Foley, and Diaz. So that's one silver lining from this one. But we've done a lot of talking about Waldron, I feel like, on the pre- and post-game shows. We've interviewed him a number of times. We had the interview before that start against Arizona with Tom Candiotti, who had a long, successful career as a knuckleballer in the major leagues and is part of the Arizona Diamondbacks broadcast crew. We had a great interview with him on a pregame show last weekend. I am very, very intrigued by Matt Waldron and what he can be, what the ceiling is for him, because I think clearly, and the results show it, I think clearly he's really figuring something out, and he's very unique. And I still think, and I said this early in the season, I still think there's a lot of unknown with Matt Waldron, or I should put it as untapped potential with Matt Waldron, because he's unique, because of that knuckleball. And he still throws it differently than a lot of knuckleballers throw it, right? I mean, a traditional knuckleballer throws that pitch a lot, like throws it 80%, something like that, and just totally works off that. Matt's a little bit different. He uses it differently start to start. He's certainly thrown it more than he threw it last year, and how he uses it early certainly affects kind of the rest of the outing. But he's somebody who does have some other pitches that he utilizes and he lands. So I know a little soliloquy here and a loss about Matt Waldron, but I think he deserves it. I mean, he has been remarkably important for this rotation. Where would this rotation be with the injuries to Darvish and Musgrove without Matt Waldron doing what he's doing right now? So you hope it continues. And look, this game not on him. He was great. 7 innings, 2 runs given up, and Matt is tonight's player of the game here on the Padres Radio Network. Let's take a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard, tell you what's going on around the majors on this Friday.
Let's take a trip around the Bigs and tell you about the scores you need to know in our out-of-town scoreboard. Presented by Jensen Meat, where great taste meets integrity.
A number of games have gone final already today. Pirates beat the Rockies 5-2 in Colorado. Jack Sawinski, a 2-run home run in that game for the Pirates. Twins beat the A's 6-5 in Minnesota, the final in 10. Max Kepler, a walk-off hit in that game for Minnesota. Astros blanked the Tigers 4-0 in Houston earlier today. It was the Reds over the Brewers 6-5 in Milwaukee. Jeimer Candelario, a 2-run home run in that game for Cincy. Braves beat the Rays in Atlanta 7-3. Austin Riley, a home run in that game for Atlanta. Guardians beat the Blue Jays 3-1 in Toronto. Will Brennan, a home run in that game for the Guards. Phillies beat the Orioles 5-3 in Baltimore, the final in 11. Nationals beat the Marlins 8-1 in D.C. Lane Thomas, a 3-run home run in that game for the Nats. The Yankees beat up on the Red Sox 8-1 at Fenway Park. Alex Verdugo, the former Red Sox, a big night, a home run, one of 3 hits, 4 RBIs for Verdugo in that game. Cardinals beat the Cubs earlier today at Wrigley Field 3-0. Pedro Pajes went deep for the Cards in that one. Games going on right now. We have the Diamondbacks beating the White Sox 6-1 in Arizona in the 7th inning. Royals and the Dodgers tied at 3 in LA in the 7th inning. Mariners beating the Rangers 3-2 in Seattle in the 5th. And finally, the Angels beating up on the Giants in San Francisco 8-0 in the 4th inning. And that is a full look at the out-of-town scoreboard on this Friday. By the way, just a note on the Edwin Diaz save. And we mentioned it pregame. If you listen to the pregame show today, which feels like a while ago after the rain delay. But one thing we talked about in our What to Watch For segment was the 2 closers in this series, and one of them, Robert Suarez, who we know has been sensational. The other was Edwin Diaz, who has had a very up-and-down season. He came into tonight's game just 5 saves and 9 opportunities. The Mets had to take him out of the closer's role for a little bit to get him back on track. And then he got injured, and he's coming off the big injury from missing last season. It just did not been super sharp or gone super well. The save for Edwin Diaz in this game is 6th of the season. His first save in 39 days. How about that? I did not realize that. First save in 39 days. So, look, for the Mets, you do like that. They could really use Edwin Diaz to get back to that 2022 form, and Diaz did a good job in that 9th inning. Look, Profar the base hit to lead it off, and Azócar pinch runs, steals second base, and then he ended up getting Manny, Solano, and Cronenworth 1-2-3, struck out Manny and struck out Cronenworth to end the game. So tough one here today for the Padres as they fall 2-1. We'll step aside here on the Padres Radio Network. When we come back, we'll hear our play of the game, and we'll also get you ready for tomorrow, the middle game of this 3-game series in New York. More post-game coverage after this. Final score, Mets 2, Padres 1 on the Padres Radio Network. Postgame show continues here on the Padres Radio Network on this Friday evening. Final score here tonight, the Mets 2 and the Padres 1. Sam Levitt with you inside our San Diego studios. As we wrap this one up, if you want to squeeze a phone call, then you can. Phone number 833-288-0973. Again, the phone number 833-288-0973. I guess we had so many phone calls during our rain delay programming today. Everybody's phone called out, I think, or it might just be a Friday night. People have have better things to do after a relatively, let's be honest about it, relatively uneventful 2-1 game as the Mets beat the Padres in this series opener. It is a Friday night in the summer, and I'll tell you, it was a beautiful day in San Diego. This was the first day in a while I can remember from start to finish in PB. From start to finish, it was bright blue skies and sunshine. It felt like summer today. It felt like a summer Friday. I would say it took me about 15 minutes to get on the highway. 15 minutes to get on the highway from my apartment in PB today. So that's when I know it's summertime and it's a Friday, because when it takes me 15 minutes to get to the highway alone, get into the studio, that means a lot of people are in PB and going to the beach. So anyway, tough one for the Padres here today. We've talked plenty about it at this point. Matt Waldron, 7 really, really good innings, 2 runs given up, 3 hits, walked 2, struck out 2 in this game, 98 pitches. That matched the season high for Matt Waldron. He was great in this game and continues to be really, really good. A sub-2 ERA in his last 7 starts. He continues to be great for this team. And the problem here tonight, like we've been saying, the Padres just simply could not get much going offensively. They had the Jackson Merrill home run to make it a 2-1 game, but that was about it. The Padres only had 2 at-bats with runners in scoring position in this game until the 9th inning, when they had the tying run on second base with nobody out. Could not find a way to come through. Tough day for Manny Machado, 0 for 4 with 3 Ks. Donovan Solano, 0 for 4 with 3 Ks. Fernando Tatis Jr., 0 for 4 with a strikeout as well. You look at the opportunities the Padres had in this one. You can certainly look at the 9th inning. And then you can look at certainly the 7th inning as well. Runners on first and second with 2 out. Jackson Merrill flew out to end that inning. So tough one for the Padres tonight. We'll hear our play of the game in just a moment. All right, see what happens when I start talking about phone calls. People start calling in. They feel like I'm lonely on a Friday night, a summer Friday night. So let's squeeze in a couple here in our final segment before we go. Let you sound off a little bit about this ball game. Let's go to Brock calling in from San Diego. Hi, Brock. You're on the Padres post-game show with Sam Levitt. How are you?
I'm good, Sammy. How you doing?
Doing well.
You sound bored, man.
Well, it wasn't the most eventful game. I'll give you that.
Yeah, no, I work at Spec, so we get to watch the games, or at least I get to.
Where do you work? You dropped out for a second. Where do you work?
Oh, sorry about that. I was saying I work at Spectrum, and we have
okay.
TVs, so we get to watch the game. Well, I watch the game when it's on, and yeah, it was pretty boring. But, I mean, one good thing I did want to touch on is just, I touched on this, I believe, last week with you, was just Merrill. I mean, he's looking even better and better, which you would not expect from the kid, but at what he did, it just seems like he's getting better. I mean, yeah, it's outfield, so there's not like it's not a super hard, massive position to take on, but he wasn't even playing that before, and he's still slaying it. So I just think that's one big positive, and just, for the offense, seems like they're hot, they're not, they're hot, they're not, and I just think it relies a lot on, obviously, Arise and Profar, but I hate to say it, all the other guys kind of need to step up, Manny, I mean, he's been kind of falling off, and Cronenworth's been good, but, I mean, even Solano's been good, but it's one night there's 10 home runs, the next there's 1.
Yeah.
or not even home runs, I mean, hits. So,
right.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like you said, wouldn't call it necessarily boring, it's just very underwhelming, and it seems like you would expect more this kind of part of the season. I think they should be a little bit more just consistent. But anyways, I appreciate your time. Thanks, Sammy.
Yeah, you got
Stay
it.
busy.
Yeah, you got it, Brock. Appreciate the phone call. You got to a lot there. Look, I don't want to go too crazy over one game. I know this was frustrating, getting one run and the missed opportunities, especially in that ninth inning. The offense. Let's be honest about it. The offense, the last week's been pretty good overall. They've hit a lot of home runs. They've been a good road offensive team. You hope tonight was just a one-off, right? And they just didn't get much of anything going. I mean, Arise had a couple of hits in this game. Profar had a couple of hits in this game. But look, Manny going 0 for 4 with 3 Ks. And look, unable to, at the very least, move that runner over. In the ninth inning, it hurt. And it's been a tough year for Manny. Now, average-wise, if you go back to even before his injury, the span of 20-plus games, it's actually been better than what you would think. It's been over 300. That was at least entering Wednesday's game. I'd have to look up the numbers again, but I'm just going off memory here. But look, the Padres need Manny to slug, and they need him to drive in runs, and they need him to do the little things right. And he's dealing with the hip flexor now, and we know he's been dealing with the elbow all year, and the numbers have not been great. I think we all understand that. You hope there's a big-time run in him at some point here in the second half of the season, because the Padres could really need it. They could use it with Bogaerts out, and when Bogaerts comes back, for him to be the guy he's been in the past. So, look, I don't want to get too overboard with one night, especially considering that the offense has done a lot of good things the last week, but this was not a great offensive night. No way around that. To your point on Merrill, just quickly on him, and I talked about it a lot during our pregame coverage, or either during our rain delay coverage, but you can't say enough about what he's done. And I'll tell you what, Brock, you made the point about Merrill in center. I think you put it a little too lightly. I think it's a huge transition to make that adjustment to center field. When you've played shortstop your entire life, and a team comes to you and says, "Hey, we're gonna put you in center field, where you have to cover the most ground, where you have to know how to be sort of the commander of the outfield out there as the center fielder." When a team comes to you and says that, and says, "Hey, you're going to do it on the fly in the major leagues," basically, and you're going to be 20 years old and have to hit major league pitching, it's all coming to you at once. Look, the Padres asked Jackson Merrill to do a lot. I mean, a lot for a 20-year-old. They asked him to switch positions to center field, not play a single minor league game there in center field, to then hit major league pitching night in, night out, which he's more than held his own, and with very limited upper-level minor league experience. And I'm basically saying what I said earlier, but I don't think you can say enough about what Jackson's done. My opinion on it heading into the year was, hey, if they're going to give Jackson the opportunity, you just hope he holds his own, both defensively and at the plate. Just hold your own. And he has done far more than that on both ends. So, now he's showing a little power, 3 home runs in the last 2 games. That's intriguing. Hey, he'll take that. A little bit more power, 6 home runs now. Yeah, I mean, he's hitting 280-something with 6 home runs and puts together quality at-bats, and he's playing a great center field for a guy, again, who did not ever play there in his life before spring training. I mean, you put all that together and you consider he started this season at 20 years old. It's remarkably impressive, and I think it is just the start. I mean, really. When you look at Jackson, I think you're looking at just the start of what is going to be a big-time player. A big-time player. You get that feeling. Look what he's doing. So, good for him. He's been great. Let's go to it could be Benjamin or BK calling in from San Diego. We're going to get you on the air. Hello, Benjamin or BK. What do you want to be called?
Sam, first time, long time.
Okay. Benjamin or BK? Which one do you like?
Let's go with BK.
BK, all right. You got it.
So I have, as you know, I have thoughts in general about the Padres. I did not watch the game tonight, but seeing the score and seeing the pitching matchup at the outset, Manaea walked in with a 4.6 ERA, and they get 4 hits. I'm just curious, the hitting approach. Why is it that the Padres have 3 hitting guys and 1 pitching coach? Is it a thing where there's too many chefs in the kitchen? Because I wonder if these players are getting a number of different voices from a number of different caverns, and maybe they just can't put it all together. I know that's happened in the past with some teams, and it's just very interesting the approach that they have, especially with the ambush approach. Late in games, they're not working at bats. They're not playing baseball. They're just trying to hit a gap. So I'm curious of your take on the hitting approach and why the Padres have 3 hitting guys.
Yeah, BK, appreciate the phone call. Well, let me start on the number of coaches. I mean, you know, they have multiple pitching coaches too. I mean, it's not just Ruben Niebla, it is Ben Fritz as well. Look, they have a head hitting coach. Now I have to look up Victor Rodriguez's exact title, but it's a top guy in Victor Rodriguez, and then there are guys that are you know, underneath him per se in you know, I guess kind of the pecking order is how I understand it. Just like Ruben's your pitching coach and Ben Fritz kind of falls under him. You know, look, it's not uncommon for teams to have a number of different coaches, and it's certainly not a Mike Shildt era thing, right? I mean, look, just in my time with the Padres, I only know the Bob Melvin and Mike Shildt eras, and they both, you know, had their staff structured somewhat like that, where there were multiple guys, multiple levels of instructors from pitching to hitting. So I'm not all that concerned about that. I mean, that's how most teams do it now. There's rarely just one guy that's handling everything. I mean, there's top guys. Victor Rodriguez is the top guy for hitting, and Ruben's obviously the top guy for pitching. As far as the approach, look, I got to be honest with you. You know, one game where they struggle is not going to totally knock me off. The idea, really, the fact that I think the approach has been pretty good. I mean, let's not get too crazy here. I mean, look, they've been stringing hits together. I know it hasn't been consistent day to day. I know a day like this is frustrating when you have opportunities and you have 2 runs on 4 hits. I get it, but this is also a team that, in a lot of offensive categories, is towards the top of baseball. It's a team that has hit really well on the road. I know it may seem like the approach is off at points, and maybe there are innings and handfuls of at-bats where it is, but the overall picture of what they've been offensively has actually been pretty good. It's just been uneven, because they came into tonight hitting 50 points higher on the road than they do at home. They've hit much better against righties than they have against lefties. There's unevenness to it, but I don't know that the overall approach has necessarily eluded them for long stretches. There's a weird imbalance to their numbers where, again, the struggles against lefties, we saw that here tonight against Manaea. The struggles at home, we certainly saw that before this last homestand. This last homestand was a little bit different. They had tons of home runs. They put up some runs. They found ways to come back in games. Quite frankly, they looked a little different offensively than they have at home this year. But I don't know that I can really make a blanket statement on what this offense is and isn't, because the numbers are a little wacky, right? When you look at the differences between home and road against lefties and against righties. You know, look, in that 9th inning here today, you'd love Manny to at least put together an at-bat that leads to a productive out there. He did not. You would love for Donovan Solano to drive in the run, and if McNeil doesn't get to that ball, maybe he does. He did not. And look, Solano also had, you know, the big 2-run home run in the 8th inning on Wednesday night, so I can't go too crazy about him. I've been okay with the approach for the most part this year. The line drives, the stringing hits together, the powers come a little bit more recently, but it's come and gone a little bit, and there's been an imbalance to it. I think that's fair. So I hope that answer suffices. I never portray myself as the hitting guru, but or get in depth of it as a former player could. But I feel like the approach has been all right. I mean, I like their kind of line drive nature. It's just been uneven. It's been uneven between home and road. It's been uneven between lefties and righties. And certainly day to day, look, they've gone through stretches where it's certainly come and gone, where all of a sudden they're not hitting anymore, and then it comes back. So, it maybe one way to put it is that there hasn't been, maybe for weeks at a time, sort of that relentlessness to the offense. Maybe that's fair. Maybe that's a fair way to put it. But not good offense here tonight, certainly. 1 run, 5 hits. Your starting pitcher only gave up a 2-run double, you lost the game. And your pitching in general gave up a 2-run double, you lost the game. So, tough one here tonight. We'll see if the Padres can bounce back tomorrow. Before we look ahead to tomorrow, let's quickly tell you about or hear our play of the game.
What was the crucial play that determined who came out on top? This is today's Play of the Game, presented by Bill Howe Plumbing, Heating, and Air.
1-1, hit hard on a line down the right field side. That is a fair ball. Going to go to the corner and give the Mets the lead. McNeil rounding third has scored. They're waving Nimmo. There will not be a relay from Cronenworth. A 2-run double for J.D. Martinez. And the Mets strike first here in the third inning.
That's a superb piece of hitting by Just Dingers.
That was our play of the game here tonight. J.D. Martinez, 2-run double. 2-run double here tonight. 2-run double, our play of the game, gave the Mets a 2-1 lead. 2-0 lead at the time. Sorry, I got a little distracted. 2-0 lead. Padres would get the run back on the home run by Merrill, and that was it here tonight. That was all the scoring. I think we've said everything we can about this game. Yeah, sometimes you get a little distracted. It's a long day. Hey, I gave you an hour plus of rain delay coverage. I was on the air at 3:10, so we're going on a 6-hour Padres radio broadcast start to finish here today with the rain delay. All right, taking a look ahead to tomorrow. First pitch tomorrow at 1:10 p.m. Our EcoWater SoCal Padres pregame show will begin at 12:10. Right-hander Adam Mazur on the mound for the Padres. Left-hander Jose Quintana on the mound for the Mets. Again, first pitch tomorrow at 1:10, and our pregame coverage begins at 12:10. As always, if you missed any of our post-game coverage, you can go back and listen to any or all of it on the Inside San Diego Baseball podcast with Sam Levitt. You can tune in or find it on the Odyssey app or wherever you find your podcast. Then if you want to watch any of our post-game show, you can go back to the 97.3 The Fan YouTube channel and watch any portion of our post-game coverage on there as well. Taking a look at the final totals in this one. For the Mets, 2 runs, 4 hits, 1 error. They left on 5. For the Padres, 1 run, 5 hits, no errors. They left on 5. Winning pitcher, Sean Manaea, who improves to 4-3. Losing pitcher, Matt Waldron, who drops to 4-6. And the save goes to Edwin Diaz, his 6th of the season. Time of game, after a 1-hour, 5-minute rain delay, 2 hours and 32 minutes of game time, and the crowd at Citi Field in Flushing, Queens, 22,850. Once again, first pitch tomorrow at 1:10 here in San Diego, pregame coverage at 12:10. Until then, for our great studio coordinator, Nick Danucci, I'm Sam Levitt saying so long and good night. Again, the final score, the New York Mets 2 and the San Diego Padres 1. We'll talk to you tomorrow afternoon right here on the Padres Radio Network. Have a great night, everybody.